In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast. Howdy, folks, and
Hi.
welcome back to another pointless automotive podcast. I remembered it, Frank.
Hey,
Hey, we
we've
made
done
it.
it. Yay.
Here's something for the old memory.
It's happening.
It
And see,
looks
I've already popped.
this
I'm
guy's
going.
you
What
pre-popped.
can I say? I pop quickly.
Yeah, you did. You did.
It happens.
Yeah, haven't had that problem for a decade or two or three.
Yeah, they make pills for that. But no, it's a good time. We're back in the saddle. Still 2 consecutive weeks. Is it possible? I don't know. Guess we'll find out. We've yet to finish recording this episode. So like you and I could get hit by lightning or mauled by like a mischievous badger
Oh,
or uh, we've discussed seppuku. What's it called when you
I
the
think
Japanese
it's
term?
seppuku.
Seppuku.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
seppuku.
Where you take the sword and
Yeah, and you gut yourself like a fish. Knife
yeah,
goes in, guts come out type scenario.
which is an honorable way to die.
Especially mid podcast.
Of
So
course.
that might happen. And
I hope
we
so.
will see. But until then, how have you been, my friend?
Doing all right, man. I got to be honest with you though.
Please be.
Biggest thing missing in my life right now is a garage.
Wow.
I haven't turned a wrench in over a month now, so that's really shitty, dude. It's been more than a month. Um, I want to talk about garages though because we are already in contract for our new place, and I want to build like a little bit of shop space in the back. I want it to be small. I want it to be focused on one car at a time, which has the added benefit of dissuading me from my hoarder mannerisms. You know, if I can only
Mhm.
have one car in the special shop at a time, that's one project. So I want to talk garages today, Frank, and not just me, not just my garage, not just your garage, but like in general, a lot of folks are out there. You can get online and you'd be like, oh, you need to have 4 lifts. You
The
need to
Royal
have,
Garage.
yeah, you need to
Yeah.
have 4 bays. You need to have at least a Ferrari and a Lambo up on the multi-tiered lift system,
Bro.
not for servicing, just for lifting your fucking
Just
cars
to
in the air.
have.
Yeah,
Well, just to say you have, right?
that's it. That's all you do. It's such a bitch to swap those out to drive them around. They just stay there.
What
But no,
percentage?
just the general garage stuff,
Yeah.
dude. What's important for having a garage for the shenanigans we get up to?
Yeah. And I was gonna say what percentage of both Ferrari and Lamborghini owner are turning their own wrenches? It's gotta be sub 1%, right?
So low. Yeah, gotta be low. Super low.
That said, I wonder what like the most statistically, like if you were to like get all the models of Ferrari and Lamborghini together, like which ones are most likely to turn their own wrenches? Is it like Mondial owner?
Definitely
Is it
vintage. Vintage for sure, right?
yeah,
Let's start there.
Yalpa owner?
Ooh.
Who knows? Um, but yes, ultimately when it comes to a garage, um, I have a garage. I'm in my garage. You're in a garage digitally for
Yeah.
those who are watching along at home. But you said it, like you are in the process of selling. You've closed on your infamous garage space there in Tracy, California,
Yeah.
which is gone and it's sad. And you are going to be in a new location
It
with the
just
fam.
time out. It just dawned on me. That was the birthplace of the pod, dude.
It is
We recorded
Ep 1 in that
Ep1.
garage.
The cannon. The cannon.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Damn. But yes. Sorry.
Yeah. And so that's dead, which is sad.
Hmm.
But you're going to be building a new thing in a new place, and this is great, right? These are good things, like
Super fun.
onwards and upwards. The progress marches on.
Let's go.
The march of progress, and but I've done that. So the garage I'm in was not the garage that was originally here when I purchased my house. When I bought my house in lovely Martinez, California, it had a detached garage, a 20 by 20 detached garage. And when I say detached garage, it was far more detached than it was a garage. My house was built in 1935.
Wow.
I don't know if the garage was built in 1935, but it felt it. It was Okay. It was a 20 by 20 concrete slab with just basic wooden pieces
Okay.
around it.
Wow.
Um, there were possums living in it, and I don't mean that like actually hyperbolic. There were I moved in it. I put all my stuff in there. I went out 8 months later. Like, oh, let me move this box. Possums. The box
Whoa.
was now a home to possums.
Aw.
Um, and because there were huge like several basketball sized holes in the back of the garage,
Mm-hmm.
and it was right on the property line. So, like, long story short, in 2016, I knocked down the garage. I mentioned that, I believe, on the last pod when I was talking about the Barracuda.
You did.
Barracuda was in that shitty garage with possums and other critters.
Mm.
Decided to knock it down, send the Barracuda off to automotive restoration purgatory, knock down the garage. There was no power to the old garage. I was just running an extension cord to it, like an old like sodium lime whatever light inside it.
Holy shit.
Um, it was bad. I'll have to find a photo so you can embed it in the video. But it was like not. It was, and then even the concrete slab, like it was cracked. So like it was, there was genuinely like 5.5 inch. Don't ask me how I know exactly what 5.5 inches is.
Sounds like
They say it's
sounds like
average.
familiar
They
with
say
that
it's
territory.
very average,
Yeah. She said it's
strikingly average,
she said it's a good
unremarkable.
size. She said it's a
Yeah,
good
it
size.
was. It was completely reasonable size. Like deviations in the concrete, so it was cracked and
God
like not
damn.
just cracked but heaved.
Yeah.
So
Yikes.
yeah, it was bad. So that's gone. New is a garage now, 20 by 20. And what I did when I built it was, because I had the money to build the garage and all the concrete and the slab and the permitting and the, because it's on the property line, you have to do like firewall and like all this extra stuff that you have to do with permitting and stuff. Great. I wanted to put a lift in.
Yeah.
As you can see behind me, the ever-present canvas behind me, no lift. But I popped in it's like a 13 and a half foot ceiling.
Mm.
So I can put a lift in. And I
Nice.
think that's going to be my next. I've been talking about it, I feel like, in some form or fashion for a while. Haven't been doing it. Maybe the pending answer from the insurance company with the car behind me will push me down the road to put a lift in. I've never owned a garage with a lift in it. I've barely owned a garage, but
Yeah.
I've never owned one with a lift in it. You had a low lift
Yes.
in
Which
the seminal garage that podcast came from. I just
yeah.
wanted to say seminal, but like what I'm saying is I've never owned a lift. You've owned at least a low lift, like a service lift, which is rad.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, lifts are great. I want a lift, and
I
not
do.
even for like storage. I mean, that's part of it, but mostly for just the amount of stuff that you could do conveniently with a lift versus not is
Yeah, and we're not getting any younger. The idea of dropping
yeah,
a transmission
yes,
on my chest isn't the way it used to be.
right.
Agree, dude. Yeah, and you can. And now they have like lower profile high lifts. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the technology has gotten a lot better. You need like a 10-foot ceiling to have a proper two post, but anything above that is bonus. And the thing is too, I want to make it work. I don't actually have the footprint to do a 2020, which I would love to do. I'm thinking more like maybe like a 2414 or 2416,
Okay, so
more
tandem.
wider, narrower. Put all my tool stuff at the end and just, the car have a two-post lift. Super simple stuff, right? No longer do I have the 900 plus square foot main shop that I had,
Sad,
right? Yeah,
big if true.
which was cool. But like, I just want it to be one car at a time, have a lift. Like you said, just having a lift, it's just so much easier, dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
for everything, right? Like if you have to get under there and you putting the car back down on the ground versus taking out jacks and taking out your jack and jack stands and having to
Take off
adjust
your pants and
everything
jacket.
like
Yeah.
50 fucking times. It gets old real quick. But yeah, like you said, I want to get a nice lift installed. That's kind of all I want. And I want enough space to move comfortably around a vehicle. There's
Yep.
nothing worse than being like in a very tight spot and,
Mm-hmm.
risking damage to the car. And I've definitely dropped stuff on a car and caused damage before. And that's not a good feeling. Right.
Nope. Bad
But
feeling.
I know it's a bit of labor. I want to do the finishing myself, so it's going to be like getting a pad put down, doing everything to code, get the exterior done, and I want to do the insulation, everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, but dude, your setup's pretty awesome, especially compared to what you came from. Apparently, I didn't
Oh,
know you
dude, it
did
was
that.
it
Yeah.
was not. It was when somebody says like, "Oh, barn find," and they actually mean like this came out of a garage. No, my shit was a straight up barn. I it was the wood that was there was rotted. I remember I talked to somebody who was in the neighborhood after I moved in, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I remember that thing was like it was like we had a storm and it basically fell over." And so I helped the guy who lived here before me. They're like, "Oh yeah, so we got like a bunch of ratchet straps and we just like cranked it so then it was like
I
no
bet they did.
longer like parallelogram shaped and it became kind of almost square. And
Oh,
then we just got like some 2x4s and we just got some fucking lag bolts and just like put them in the corners and then it held its shape. And that was like 4 years before you bought the house. I'm like, tight.
good lord.
Cool, bro. Yeah. Yeah.
You
It
don't want
was
to lean. You don't want to lean here, here, here.
so I've got a thought. So okay,
Yeah.
so the new spot that you are hopefully closing on, you're gonna have a new house. It's gonna be great. You're talking about building a garage. Is it gonna have an attached garage, or do you have just like an empty spot to put a detached garage?
So here's what's cool, and we're getting pretty creative. It's a
Yeah.
two-car garage in the front, which I'll still use, but I want to have like
Mhm.
the shop just for the projects, right? For the
Yeah.
filming and everything. So it has RV access on the side of the house,
Sick.
which is tits, which means hoarders can park a bunch of cars. But
The folks like us. Yeah.
right. And so I'm doing lengthwise so it lines up with the RV thing. It'll shoot straight into the garage. So that's why
Mhm.
it's only got enough room. Like 1416 is going to be really pushing the width, but
Right.
that's enough for like a standard car for sure to get in there and work on.
I've never
Um,
pushed the width. I'm more of a length guy,
oh yeah,
personally.
no, I'd like to rub the sides, but
Yeah.
I have never seen the end of the cave network, if you will.
No, no, never. Never. Why would you?
But the idea is to like be able to get a car back there, drive it into the shop, and like I said, I want to have my tool chest against the back wall because with
Mhm.
24 feet I'll have more than enough room to accommodate almost any vehicle in there. um so
I wonder what the I'm trying to think of a production vehicle that couldn't get in 24. There's got to be a few, right? I think my
I'm
Suburban
sure.
is under 24.
Wait, what?
My Suburban,
Oh
I think
yeah, it's
that's
under
less than
24.
24.
Yeah, well, the Corvette, how much is, I did all this mathematics and then I lost it.
Playing Tetris.
I think it's like, I want to say around 15 feet, the Corvette ZR1, which is not
Yeah,
a short car. So at 24, that'll give plenty of room before, fore and aft, if you will. But just to have enough side room to get the lift's going to always be there, right? And I think a standard lift is 8 feet apart, if I remember correctly.
yes. Yeah, that
So
feels right. Yeah.
yeah, so that should work out well. But it's just like it's nice to have more space, but it's also something cool to have a minimal amount of space but make it hyper efficient. I've always liked
Sure.
that kind of that resource challenge, right? you
Packaging.
have
Yeah.
you have finite resources. I need to make it efficient, and I don't want it to be like it's going to be just purely a workshop, like a car in there focused. So I'm kind of excited to take the project on, to tell you the truth. But
I mean, it sounds good. So like here's one thing what's interesting is I remember so when I had my first honestly, my first actual garage ever was when I lived in Vallejo. So I bought a house. My my then girlfriend, current wife, and I say current like there's going to be another one, but
sorry
bear
about
with me.
sorry
Bear
about
bear with me. That came out. That came out. It. I said what I said. Um, 2000.
behind the curtain. Yeah.
Yeah, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Um, so in 2009, we bought our house in Vallejo, California,
Mm-hmm.
and it had an attached, just regular ass 2-car garage.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, like my house I grew up in, the garage was converted. So I this was the first that was the first house I ever had, or for even at college, I lived in a condo, and I was like, I remember sanding Bondo and shit, and like looking over my shoulder, like worried if like the HOA association is going to come get me because I'm just like I'm like grinding Bondo and like primering a fucking door and quarter panel on a 67 Barracuda, like in
Yeah.
the fucking parking lot there. Um, it was the first garage I ever had. And at the time, I remember thinking, like leading up to it, I was like, when I get a garage and I get an air compressor,
That's right.
world, look out, world. Like I can do anything, right?
Everything and anything. Yeah.
But now today,
Mm-hmm.
with the availability and just how common battery powered
Yeah. Cordless for sure.
cordless tools are, like electric tools, whether it be an electric socket or impact or whatever.
Yep.
It's kind of what's your take on having an air compressor? Like, is that a must have?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still stuff you have to have a compressor for, right? Like airing out tires, just a straight up air gun. Just like use an air gun to like blow shit out. Like,
yeah, you need an air compressor for that kind of stuff. And I have my same Craftsman giant air compressor that I bought when I bought my first place back in
so
09.
Over there. Yep.
Yeah,
I bought that in 09.
Yeah.
And it's the same one. I've never drained it. I guarantee like the tank's about to explode because I've never drained the moisture out of it.
It's probably not too bad. It's probably not too bad. But I still use mine a lot too. But remember back in the day, the garage setups with the fucking I always was impressed by this, like the high volume air compressor with the lines all perfectly mapped throughout the garage. I loved that kind of stuff, dude. But you don't need it anymore.
I was going to say it's kind of obsolete.
Yeah, I have air tools. I have a ton of old air tools, and I don't think I ever break them out. Yeah, never break them out. So you're right.
Compressor's noisy, and like it's just so much more convenient and less cumbersome to just not use air tools. And air tools were like everything for what, 60 years?
Yeah. Because the torque settings, like an impact air, like at the time, no, you could buy like a $500-$600 snap-on like impact, and it would be like a quarter of the power of a cheap ass air tool, right?
Yeah. Harbor Freight, like Hercules or
and I
or
love
whatever that brand
Harbor
is.
Freight air tools are no joke. When I had to do like heavy duty construction, like concrete work, I bought like a $10 air chisel from Harbor Freight, and that fucker put in hours, bro.
I've got such a love hate with Harbor Freight. There's so many times where
I love them.
I use a Harbor Freight tool and I get like a third of the way through my project and it melts into my hand on the first.
No.
That's right. And I'd be like, fuck this. Like, I'm never going back. Like, there was something, or it was just like, it was like not even like a mechanized part. It was just like a random ass tool.
It just failed.
And it just didn't, it failed instantly. It just,
and I was
like, I'm never going to Harbor Freight again. And then like, whatever, you know what it's like? It's like being hungover and being like, I'm never drinking again. That's it. I'm just never doing it.
Yeah.
And then like 11 days later, you're just like,
you're back at
it. Go, chug. Yeah.
Like I've had the same Pittsburgh, low clearance floor jack from Harbor Freight for 20 something years. And I probably use that more than the average DIY guy, the way I use my jacks. I've abused that thing. I've thrown it in the truck. I've taken it to fucking pick and pull a million times. And that thing, I've never re-greased anything. I've never done shit.
Dude, I have a nice floor jack that I got as a gift. It's not Harbor Freight. I don't know where it came from, but it's like a nice heavy duty, like 4-ton. Like okay. I'll never use its capacity and it stays in the garage. And then I have a Harbor Freight one, like low profile, all aluminum, like Harbor Freight one. Yeah. That I bought like 12 years ago. And it's just been sitting on the side of every house I've ever owned, like out in the elements. Sometimes there's a tarp over it, sometimes there's not.
It doesn't care,
and it works. And like I just like it's not great. It's like clunky, and like one of the wheels is seized on it, and I just doesn't matter.
Mine is not like that. Mine is
mine's like used, hurt,
but perfect.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's Zerk fittings I should have addressed like decades ago. But you know what?
Yeah, my Zerk fittings have just been slowly bleeding water into it from like sitting into the elements.
Hydraulic systems love water.
Yeah.
But yeah, you bring up a good point.
About.
You bring up a good point because like we go 10, 20 years back, the things you need in your garage are not what we need today. Like you said,
they're
like,
different.
And the storage is so much easier. You can have like a tool cabinet with a bunch of impacts and other battery tools. Takes up no space. A good hand tools. I've got a shit ton of tools, but for a garage, I don't know. I think I'm going to be good with like this oversized one car setup, man. I'm really into the efficiency aspect of it, you
Yeah.
know? I think
No,
it's
it's good. It's
cool.
and that's the thing. Like when it comes to like tool chests and stuff like that, it used to be, you can do the Snap-on thing, or you can
Hmm.
do the Harbor Freight didn't really sell anything. Like they sold some stuff, but it was really cheap and shitty. Like that's what this is. Or no, that's actually not what this is. This is all Husky.
Husky's
But
good. Where are they from? Home Depot
they
or
are, yeah, they got bought by Home Depot.
that's right.
Um, Here, let's do this. A tale as old as time. I'm gonna pick up the mic, or not the mic, but the
Look at
um.
this
There we
husky,
go.
man.
If you're paying attention,
He's a
yeah, it's full
husky
of
man.
garbage, but I'm actually not at all husky. And then even this table with a beer and a keyboard on it. This is a husky with a top on it. And then what's funny is Craftsman used to make really good stuff, but then Sears shit the bed, and now it's garbage. Like I have this Craftsman when I got it because I think Husky is Lowe's, and I think Craftsman got bought by Home Depot. It's some shit like that. But I have
Oh,
a Craftsman one, and it was like missing pieces, and like it was kind of fucked, and it was the same money. But like I don't
dude,
know, like
you
the
bite your
toolbox shit is cheap.
you bite your goddamn tongue. All my hand tools and my tool chest are
Different.
Craftsman.
When did you
Old,
buy them though?
a long. It was
That's
been
why. That's why they're
early
good.
two
They they
thousands,
they were good. Like I got this
dude.
Craftsman one like about when I just after I had this, so probably like 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was dog shit. But they sold Craftsman got sold off, and it's trash now.
Dude, I've had the same like drivers set and like sockets from Craftsman, and I beat the shit out of my tools, dude, and I use them a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And I've never had a ratchet strip out. They all turn perfectly fine. All the teeth still
Yep.
engage. Um, all my hand tools are Craftsman, and I live and die by that. All my power tools are DeWalt. Say what you will about that, but I've had good luck with those. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I draw the line. Hand tools, Craftsman, and then any surgical stuff, snap on for like my torque wrenches when I'm doing like engine stuff
Yeah.
or head bolts. I got to be accurate. I'm not going to do Harbor Freight on that stuff. I'm not above it. I just like I spend money where I need to. That
You know
stuff
what's
has to
funny
be
is
precise.
so I was at Harbor Freight, and I knew so I went there for other things. But while I
That's
was
what
like, well,
happens.
while I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
again, the trap of Harbor Freight.
So good, dude.
While I'm here, because I have a torque wrench, I have a nice torque wrench. It's funny, I have an old Snap-on one, but it's really, really old,
Mm-hmm.
and
Clicker style.
it is an old clicker style one, but it's no longer supported by Snap-on. It's so old they won't. It's like from the 70s.
So I have an 80s one, and they still I mailed it into Michigan. Their
Yes,
headquarters in Michigan.
I looked it up and I called them. They don't support it
Oh,
anymore.
they calibrated mine, sent it back with the sticker and everything. I love that. That's my 3
Yeah,
8 inch. And then I have a modern
yeah. Mine's
half
a 3/8.
inch.
Mine's a 3/8. It's a nice 3/8.
Oh,
I got it as part of an estate a long. It was when okay. This is a good car related story time.
there we
So
go.
my I have a younger brother. I'm one of two, right? I'm one of five now. I'm Frank the fourth.
Hmm.
So I'm one of five Franks, but I'm one of two siblings, me and my younger brother, Ian. Ian needed a car.
Hmm.
And because I was the car idiot of the family, I was tasked with finding my younger brother a car. He's not really a car guy. He still isn't, although he is more now than he was then. Back then, he was just like, I'm just gonna like play Counter Strike
At
uh
faulted.
and I don't know, edibles. I don't know, but he
Terrorist.
lived
Wait.
his life. He's a good kid, I promise. But he was like, hey, I gotta find him a car. So I was like, okay, let me find you something good. So I found him a 1986 Toyota Cressida. It had
Hmm.
like roughly 80,000 miles on it,
Damn. Okay.
prior salvage,
Hmm.
but it was just like a crease on the whole passenger side, right?
Hmm.
Silver over gray cloth, automatic. This was in, golly, this would have been like 2007, 2006 ish.
Okay.
Got it for $1,200. And the guy I bought it from, he was selling it. It was his daily driver, old dude. He was selling it because he, really funny story. He had, when he was in Vietnam, he got drafted, was stationed in Australia, because apparently that was a thing.
Hmm.
So he was in Australia and he fell in love with the right Sheila.
That is a proper
And they did a whole thing, right? So he was there for like 8 months and had this like fiery summer of love type thing, right? And then he got restationed, right? And then and this was in whatever 1972 or 1971 or whatever. And then he went off and lived his life. And at the time when I met him, he was living in a trailer on his friend's like property, and his whole job was to like, hey, like you can live in this trailer, just like make sure that like the cows and the sheep don't get out. And that was his job.
sweet
But he
job.
had this Cressida, and he used to be an old Mopar head. So he
Hmm.
used to do old drag racing cars. So he got back from Nam, Australia, famously similar to Vietnam. And so he came back and he
The
started doing
kangaroos
like,
are in the wire.
yeah, and so like 73, 74, he was doing like hardcore drag racing and all this shit. And so he had the Cressida and a bunch of tools, and I still, man, I have them here somewhere. A bunch of old like Mopar Direct Connect scat pack like patches, like drag race patches from the 70s. So I bought the Cressida, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to do all this like Mopar racing drag shit." And I was like, "Oh dude, my Barracuda," and we were talking about it. And so he was like, "Hey, like you're giving me my asking price of $1,200 on this 80,000 mile Cressida. Here, have." He gave me a tool chest. He gave me a bunch of his old Snap-on tools. He gave me those old like Mopar like drag racing patches from the 60s and 70s,
That's
and
dope.
he gave me the torque wrench, the Snap-on torque wrench from the 70s. It was like 1974 or some shit. I still have it. It's in this garage somewhere. But now it basically just been turned into just like a backup ratchet because
Hmm.
I looked it up. Apparently that era of like Snap-on torque wrench isn't terribly accurate to begin with,
Oh wow.
and problematic to the point where like that's why Snap-on doesn't support it anymore. Is they're like, it was kind of fucked. Let's not calibrate it and then like get people angry. But I still have it. It's like
Dude, that's
and
sweet.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and so here's the thing. He was selling the Cressida and getting rid of all his tools and like moving out of the trailer because okay, this was like 2007. So he had like gone back on the Facebook was a hot new thing, right? And
Hmm.
he found his Sheila in Australia, who after he went away and came back stateside, he it 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 almost sounds fake, but I choose to believe the man's story.
Yeah.
Where he was all the whole time he was sending her love letters and stuff. He sent like dozens, and he never heard back. Right after like 5 years of mailing her letters, he just quit. Well, as it turned out, she was thinking about him the whole time, and she got the letters, but she didn't know how to respond because she had become engaged to another dude,
Um,
and then she had a family with said bogan in Australia, and on and on and on. And when he reached out to her, right? She had been married for like 20 years, and she had left the guy because he was a pile of shit. And she had two adult kids, and they were living their own life and whatever. And she had left this guy like a couple of years ahead when my Cressida owner dude reached out and was like, "Hey, like I've been thinking about you the whole time." And she was just like, "I was thinking about you the whole time. I got married and the guy was an asshole and I had kids with him, but like I left and I was thinking about you the whole time. And like, oh my God, I'm single now." And then he was like, "I'm going to drop everything and sell all my shit, move out to Australia." And she's like, "Please do come find me." And that's what he was doing.
damn, dude.
It's kind of cool. And
Yeah.
I have a torque wrench to like commemorate their love, which doesn't work. And maybe their love didn't work. I don't know.
Who knows?
That is my tangent when we're talking about
That was
garages
deep.
here.
That was a deep cut. That
That
was the
was deep.
iceberg of garage talk right there, folks.
That was iceberg dead ahead. Um. Anyways, do you have anything to add to that or anything else, my
I
friend?
don't know if I could touch that story.
Yes,
um
yes. The
that's
Cressida
just
died, by the way. He drove it for several years, and then I remember I put Celica Supra wheels on it and some BFG radials because why not?
why not?
And the rear shock, the rear springs were blasted on it, They were just worn out. So I bought the very last two OEM springs in North America from Toyota for that car.
That's
They were
fucking
the
cool.
only one. They were on a dealership shelf somewhere. We did a nationwide search. I found them. We put them in. It was great. And then the radiator blew up on his way to a job interview, and so he was late for the job interview. He didn't get the job. Car went to somewhere else. But I saw it a few years ago. Driving around, like by a few, I mean like 8 years ago.
That's
Um,
dope. Yeah. Someone kept
yeah,
it going.
yeah. And they probably
Cool.
did that work in a garage.
Yeah. And dude, and look, man, like I said, I've done transmissions in parking lots. It sucks. It's nice.
It licks.
I'll appreciate any kind of roof over my head, even a pop-up shelter sometimes when it's really hot or raining.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely operated in those quite a bit, but yeah, I'm super pumped, and I'll have the garage for other stuff too. And obviously, it's probably going to take a little while to save up the funds and do the blueprints and get all the, get the right people to come in there, because a million people are going to charge a million different prices to do the
Mm-hmm.
same exact work. And I want to do everything to code. But it's just I'm excited to do it, which I'm pretty cool. Pretty cool concept, and I get to design it the way I want, kind of tweak the layout a little bit. Again, very restrictive footprint I have to work within, but it'll be cool, and it'll be like my little detached space.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty pumped about it, man. And it's something I've been wanting to do. I don't know how high I'm going to go in the ceilings though, because it'll look
Mm.
awkward if it's like 14 feet by 14 feet.
Well, that's my house. Like my garage is only about a foot higher than my house because it's a stucco box that it's got a parapet and all the things. So
Hmm,
it doesn't look that awkward. It's definitely taller, but it's like not crazy.
right.
Um, Now I just need to put a lift in it. Are you gonna do you want a lift? Yeah.
I'm gonna do a lift. So I've been looking, man, and I don't know. I guess if I do your ceiling height, I think you need about a 12 foot to do a pretty much full height lift. But there's a lot of different options out there, man. What you can get. Are we trying to see your ceiling? Oh, okay, I see now. Yep. It's just the technology's come a long ways. The lifts,
Right.
there's so many options out there. Obviously, I want to get something like reliable and
Sure.
that has some longevity to it. I know like Atlas lifts are pretty decent for the price point.
Ben
Um,
pack.
yeah, Ben Pack always good. I just want to get something where I put in there and just forget it. Just use it. I don't have to worry about maintenance.
So if you're a lift company out there and you'd like to sponsor the said podcast, we can use two lifts and we'll talk about them constantly.
And did you do your floor? Apparently, for some of these two post lifts, if you're doing like an 8,000 pound capacity one, you got to have so many inches of like certain grade concrete. You can't do your cousin can't pour your
Boy,
concrete for you.
I don't remember, but I remember like
Thinking about it at the time.
yeah, it's a heavy duty situation. Like yeah, that would be what you know what's bonkers is, and I've been to a lot of shops and a lot of places that the lifts are they're not bolted. They're just
Nope.
sitting there.
It's so fucking scary. Or
And
loose.
they'll tell
The
you,
car,
yeah.
you could shake the
Oh
car
yeah,
when
just
it's up, and I'm like,
yeah. And like I don't have the stomach for that, and I know a lot of places that just go like this raw dog lifts on the floor, and what's funny is like the lift manufacturer is like, oh yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
We recommend that you bolt them down in a if you live in a seismically active area, which
we do.
here we are,
Yeah.
Pacific Rim, yeah, Ring of Fire,
Emphasis on rim. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I like to live myself. I like to live my life dangerously when it comes to rims, but not when it comes to like cars falling on my head when things get seismically active.
Frank, I swear you just said I love to lick myself dangerously. And so I was like,
Ooh,
was that a Freudian
first,
slip after
I
you
mean,
said Ring of Fire?
maybe I'm absolutely not that bendy. I'm quite I'm a rigid soul. I wish I was that bendy. My back would be better.
Oh, dude,
I'd
tell
be
me about it.
healthier.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not quite I'm not that quite that bendy. Um, where the hell was I? I don't even know.
So I'll tell you what,
Garages.
though. You know what I
Yes.
like? I like a rougher garage because you see what I do to my garage space.
Yeah.
It's gonna have fluids everywhere. I actually use it like a mechanic uses it. What I'm not looking for is that race deck flooring and having the
Sure.
hexagonal lighting in the
Yeah. I was gonna say
hate
I don't like the hexagonal lighting at all, honestly. If I was a PDR tech, I would love it.
Love it.
I'm not.
Yep.
Um, that said, having adequate lighting is very much a
Huge.
thing. Like
Huge.
all
Yeah.
all the lights in here are it's LEDs, and it was like kind of early into when LEDs were a thing. Um, the very very good. Do recommend. Um, and like fancy flooring, no, but like I did the epoxy kit
Mm-hmm.
on this floor behind me with the little specks you sprinkle in,
Uh-huh.
and it was not expensive. I think I did the whole floor for like $80.
Doesn't get slippery or
And
anything crazy like that.
no, and it's like really really strong. Like I've dropped stupid shit on it, and it hasn't cracked or
Nice.
broken. And it is nice to do the epoxy floor, and it's not hard or expensive. Yeah, I think it was like 80 or $100 or something to do the whole 20 by 20 floor.
That's
Um,
and that's good to know because it cut to me in a few months with a pickle fork and a sledgehammer trying to slam, something off, and just
can
disaster.
can I just come out and say the pickle fork is maybe my least favorite tool in the entire fucking suspension tool kitchen?
I was going to say it's one of my favorites because when you get in a situation where you have an outer tie rod that will not fucking let go of the hub area, what else are you going to use without bending
Well, in
it?
that situation, sure,
It's
but like
so good.
I hate going like, well, I'm destroying this fucking part because I have to
It's
use a
done
pickle fork and
anyway,
destroy.
dude.
Well, if it is, but if it's not, right? Like if I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm doing a wheel bearing, and like the fucking lower control arm is like 11 weeks old or some shit, like
sure. But
tight,
dude,
like
on these 30-something-year-old
goodbye
cars,
bearing.
that outer tie rod's always
No,
gone.
no.
We know it.
Well, yeah. And what's an outer tie rod cost you? Like $11 on Rock Auto?
If
Like,
if it's like
yeah,
it's always like 375 or 384 or
yeah,
some shit
yeah. 428. You're like tight.
for a Mevo
Um,
Tech or whatever.
yeah.
We know what's up.
Mevotech God, what's the other one?
You can step it up to Moog if you're into
Well,
it.
Moog used to be good, and now I feel like Moog is like semi.
Yeah.
It depends on the part, depends on what you're doing. Anyways, that's a whole other podcast episode. Now that we're
Parts. Oh god.
back in the thing, it's just like, and I feel like we've talked about it early podcast days of like good parts versus bad parts, like
Sure. Yeah.
aftermarket parts that are good versus not good. Like, do I get the KYB shocks, or do I get the WVE or some random nonsense?
Nothing but break best components.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even some of those, like you think Power Stop is garbage. I'm like, yeah, they're actually okay.
They're pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually not bad. And then you can get like the dog shit quality, like Bosch workshop filter, which just like not some Bosch stuff is. Can we talk? We need. I feel like we need to have a whole episode just bagging on Bosch, where like some of their stuff is good
Oh,
and some of
dude.
it's pure garbage.
Yeah, put it in the notes somewhere. And then there's the guys that like oh, my car's far superior because I spent this much on this certain fuel filter. I'm like, it's a fucking fuel filter at the end of the day, right? Like I bought an
Right.
$8 fuel filter. I'm like, well, what is it filtering differently?
Yeah.
At a certain point, there's like an ROI you're just not going to tap into, no matter how much you pay for the
I
same
feel.
part.
I feel like we just triggered. What's the dude that does the Project Farm
Oh,
shit
yeah.
on YouTube?
Dude, that guy's awesome. But
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
as you
And
can see
then
here,
we
the Bosch
yeah.
filtered in 2 hours.
Very impressive. Yeah, like really. Like I love that guy. Like I watch his shit and like I feel like it's not at all scientific, but like I still appreciate the effort. I'm just like,
It
oh
is,
yeah.
to be fair though,
He just froze a bunch of fucking motor oil and like dumped it on a fucking plank of wood to
watched
see what,
it
like,
run down. Yeah.
yeah, like it's yeah, exactly. He baked it in a fucking like I don't know, a fucking whatever coffee pot, like
Dude, at
cool.
least he's unbiased. He doesn't go in there. He's like, sometimes the cheap shit actually wins. Like
Yeah.
the tire shine one was really fun to watch. I'm like, at least someone's doing the footwork, A lot of
Here's
people.
the thing. Here's the thing with that. It's like sometimes the cheap one wins,
Right.
but I wonder if it's like that cheap one won, right? Like if you're in the world of cheap shit,
Mm-hmm.
the consistency of product is probably not there.
Could
So
be.
you might get one really good cheap whatever fucking jumper pack,
Right.
right? But then the next same exact brand on the same pallet, right? At Costco, you get the next one, and that one does burns your garage to the ground.
But to be fair, though, dude, you buy enough parts, it's all the same casting. Like all these, like if it's not like an OEM part, a lot of times it's all the shared casting. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing actually physically different. I'm talking about non-moving parts. Now, obviously, you get into like
Right.
things where like it needs to have proper clearance and stuff. Then you can start to worry. But like
Yeah, when you're
other
talking a
tie
fuel
rods,
pump, it kind of matters. But like even then, you're just like figure out who made the original one, or like bearings. You know what? Like wheel bearings are absolutely. I feel like the perfect example, right? Because you have like the dog shit quality one.
mm-hmm.
Let's say you're talking a front. I remember when I did this on my 92X,
Yeah,
which burned to the ground.
famously, yeah.
But not famous, but not because of a wheel bearing. Probably because of some other bullshit I from Rock Auto installed on the car. However, I take that back, and I take that back because I want Rock Auto to sponsor the podcast.
I love Rock
I
Auto.
do, I do, and we're
I
not
love
sponsored yet. And full disclosure, I want them to sponsor us because I want a better coupon code. I don't want that 5% coupon code they
I
send
never
everybody.
use it either.
It.
I fucking always forget.
Dude, you know what I always do? I go to my fucking shopping cart at the very end, and I open up another tab and I just Google like Rock Auto coupon code, and I find it,
Nice.
and it basically almost just like covers shipping,
Yeah.
which is great. Whatever. Anyways, I don't want to bag on Rock Auto because I want them to sponsor the pod, but um, when it comes to wheel bearings, okay,
Mhm.
you figure out, like I figured out who made the OEM wheel bearing for Subaru, right? Or Subaru, right? Timken made the original. So you can get the OEM one. If I called up Subaru and pretended that it had an '05 WRX wagon, and I didn't tell them it was a 92X, they would say, okay, yeah, the part is, whatever, it's $126, let's say.
Sure.
And then I can go the dog food quality one on Rock Auto, right? And it would be like $12.28, right?
Yeah.
And then you go down, there's all the different ones, and there's some ones in there like, ooh, Boog. That's a well-known brand, or Delco, which they don't make bearings, but just bear with me.
Yep.
And you go down the list, but Timken makes a bearing, and it was like $31. I'll buy that, like the OEM manufacturer.
Yep.
And yeah, it doesn't go through the same process and whatever. And I think that's the trick. It's like you try and do your homework, figure out who makes the OEM part, right? Like who makes all the radiators for Subaru?
Is it? I don't know if it's Koyo Rad or not.
It is Koyo. Yeah,
Okay.
Koyo. Yep. You can find Koyo Rad, and there's usually like two. There's like a universal, and then there's like an OEM equivalent, and you get the OEM equivalent, and you save like 45%.
Oh yeah, and there's places where you can definitely save money. Window regulators, not one of them. If you like, you go, oh, I want the Toyota one, and you look.
I'm about to preach.
Huh?
I'm about to preach. Keep going.
Yeah, because you like to do the window regulator job every other month. So you get in there, you're like, I want the Toyota one, 184. You're like, fuck that. You get on Amazon. I want the Wuhan.
Well, don't go Amazon. There's your problem.
No, you go to Amazon, you get the Wuhan one for 27. You put it in. Woo-ha, 1 year later. Click, 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 click. No movement. At least, but you know what? Every time you take that plastic tarred on piece of paper behind the
the moisture barrier,
card, yeah, it gets easier to take off every time.
Yeah, because the dum gets like more hair and bullshit stuck in it from when you leave it.
So good, dude.
So what's funny is you say that. So when I did the window regulator on the Suburban, I don't remember what brand I went with, but I remember I was like, I'm gonna do a little bit of an experiment, and I'm gonna get the cheapest goddamn window regulator I can get. And then I tried to order it, and I got punted out because of the California Prop 51 or whatever it is.
Prop like 65.
Prop 65, yes, 65. Where if the box doesn't have a label on it that says that whether it's the grease that's used or the little Delrin nubbin or one of the components of whatever you're buying,
cancer baby,
doesn't have a sticker that says like this contains products that can cause reproductive harm. So don't raw dog your window regulator.
Yeah, That sucks because I've been using that grease for like a decade.
I know, right? Exactly.
Been greasing my hog with that
Exactly.
Prop
Yeah, that's
65.
why you have like four nuts now. But like the
Yeah.
thing with it is, or just enormous. Anyways, the thing with it is, so I got like
Now?
so I tried to get like the one that was like $11 and it wouldn't let
Mm.
me. It's like, no, you're in California, Prop 65. They didn't pay for the sticker that goes on the box so now we can sell it in California. So I got like the next whatever, like it was like the fourth cheapest one because that was
Mm.
the only one that like had the sticker. And so I ordered it, and instead of being like $11, it was like 27.
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
$27 window regulator. Great,
Not bad.
put it in.
Not bad.
It fit. It actually fit really well.
They
I had
work.
like,
They do
yeah, it
work.
fit really well. Went in. Okay, great. Well, now it still works. It goes up and down just fine. Buzzes up and down. Burr, 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 all that great. I will say, if it's rolled up all the way, I'm driving around, I can hear it rattle.
Oh.
It's got a little bit of rattle to it. And if I have it partway down, it rattles even more. But I have to like roll all the way up and then go like, yeah, and like one tap on the down to barely
Locks
get it
in.
down.
Yep.
And it gets it in just the right spot where it doesn't rattle. And it's just play, I believe, in the regulator.
Mm.
I haven't pulled the door card to figure out if like, I mean, it could be user error. Like I might not have torqued it down right, and like a couple of bolts back themselves out. It could be that. I don't know. It could be the $27 part.
Remember the old regulators used to be riveted on? Such a pain in the
What a
duke.
what a just
Horrible human being designed that one. Yeah.
it's that's
They were
the
all
bean
like
counters
that.
won.
Yeah,
I
dude.
promise you, the
They were
engineers
all
did
like
not win
that.
on that.
Um,
Yeah, what a pain in the junk.
self-tapping screws. Let's go.
Speaking of self tapping,
Ooh, hey now.
yeah,
Are we at
things
that
I do
time?
in my
We are.
garage. You ever never mind. I'm not gonna get into that.
You ever crank your hog with Prop 65?
Brother. Yeah, with some lithium grease.
I do have an awesome ad for you today. Would you like
Ooh,
me to? It is time, folks.
I
Prepare
will.
yourself. Guard your loins.
Ooh,
We are
girdle,
about to
hurdle your
do
girdle.
our automotive prit ad quiz. I'll get it open. Frank's going to describe it to you. He's getting quizzed this time, so don't let him
I
act
will. And this edition, we finally have our first sponsor. It's not brought to you. It's brought to you by UQuiz. Where Chadwick here is going to quiz me on a piece of print advertisement from the 80s, the 90s, up until the mid 2000. It's going to be an ad for an automobile. He's going to read the type copy from that, describe the overall imagery, and it will be incumbent upon me within 3 guesses and within 10 minutes to guess successfully what make, model, and ballpark year we are talking about. I get 3 guesses. If I guess and I miss, which I won't, I will have an opportunity to ask for a hint. That is it. Please play along at home. It's a lot of fun. I'm ready. Player home, are you ready?
Prepare yourself. Frank, I got a 2-page spread for you, my friend.
Oh, full spread.
So on the first page, some writing. At bottom 3/4 of the page is the vehicle passenger 3/4 navigating a corner in a sporty fashion. The other one shows a twisty canyon road. This is page 2 at the top, which is fucking awesome. And then there is a little bump out with some text specs. I'll read that to you last. It's an actual person's account of driving the vehicle is the ad.
Oh, is it grounded to the ground?
I wish. I think, is that just fair? That might be just outside of our fair play.
Yeah, that was like 2011 Canada
yeah,
or whatever
so just not getting there. But here we go, my friend. And you have 10 minutes once I'm done. So I think you got this one. It's kind of cool though. We haven't done this car yet. Is handling the way a car responds to you or the way you respond to a car? Already getting introspective.
I love this. Okay.
Yeah, this is a good one. After I drove it for the first time, everyone was asking me, "What are you smiling about?" That's how, and I'm going to say,
what's wrong with you?
I'm going to drop a name. That's how Anna Lang, a vehicle auditor at blank, describes her first experience behind the wheel of a blank after testing the ride and performance of one of the first blank cars ever built. She had a decision to make. I was surprised at how solid the car felt It's as close. This is close to what you said before. It just hugged the road.
Ooh, it's grounded to the ground.
It's
Okay.
so close, so close. Decades before that. I mean, this car's about the size of a Toyota Celica, and
Mm.
small cars aren't supposed to be smooth. To be honest, I was a little nervous before I drove it. I've put too much into this company to build a car I didn't like. Frank, this is so good. And a lot of people here feel that way.
Wow.
Fortunately, I got to tell
Behind the
everyone
curtain.
how nice it is to step out of the car wanting to buy one. And I'm going to read the tech spec little section for you, my friend. Uh,
Yeah.
a powerful dual overhead cam 1.9-liter engine linked to a
I see
sporty
where we're at.
5-speed manual or an
Mm-hmm.
optional computer controlled 4-speed. There was very little computer controlling going on there. 4-speed
Beep up, beep up,
automatic
beep.
transmission, which drives the blank. 4-wheel independent suspension, 15-inch alloy wheels, and wide, that's a fucking stretch, radial tires assure
You had me at
confident,
stretch.
responsive handling, and variable effort power steering gives the blank just the right road feel, whether parking in tight places or touring out on the open road. Frank, 10 minutes on the clock. What are we talking about today? What did Anna Ling couldn't stop? What is the car
My
she couldn't stop
friend, my
smiling
friend
about?
Anna, can we figure out where she's at and get her as a guest on the pod? And I don't even mean that ironically. I think that would be an enormous amount of fun, especially if she's still in the
Absolutely.
industry and she didn't commit suicide directly after putting her thoughts down on paper here.
Right.
Um, this feels like okay, brand new company. I 1.9 is a it made me nod my head in agreement with where my head was at when you were
Hmm.
reading this. I feel like this is going to be a let's call it 1991 Saturn SC2 because it's got 15-inch alloys and I want to say the SC1 with the crazy textured bumpers and shit, which was really cool. Different, slightly different stylized front end. I think those came with Steelies. So I'm going to say it's a 91 Saturn SC2. Final answer, Bob.
Well, you're talking about a different kind of company, different kind of car. Saturn SC2.
It is an
Good
SC2.
job, my friend.
Yeah.
How fucking cool are
They're
these
so
things?
good. They're so sick.
What am I? I need to get one of these. I need a
Those
Saturn.
those early ones
Boy.
are really pretty special. Like if you look at the styling of them, I feel like when most people picture those early Saturns, they actually picture like the later gen ones.
Yeah, which suck.
They're
Which
okay.
well,
The
time
first,
out. Depends what you're saying. The first two generations, yes. That
yes,
L or whatever the S generation or whatever it was that came out late, which was more GM in the pot, not as
yeah.
good
So
as the
you had
first
the
two.
S. So originally it was the SC was the coupe, and the SL
And the
were the
ACW.
sedans, but then SW was
Mm-hmm.
the wagon.
That's what they
Which
kept
is
for the
weird
longest
because that's
time.
actually inverse of like Mercedes Benz because the chassis
Kind of.
goes on Mercedes Benz. W was sedan and S was wagon. Anyways, um, that was it. It was that simple. And you had the SC1, which was a single overhead cam,
Yep.
lower power,
Same
um,
displacement.
same displacement,
Talk about an effective
textured
and
bumpers. But
efficient
God,
way to
those
run
look
a
cool.
company. They
They were
look
all magenta in my mind, in my head canon. They're all magenta or teal or white. There were no
a
other
lot of
colors.
maroons in the later
Oh,
one.
the maroons. You're right. You're right.
So
You're right. That
many
maroons. That
for the
maroon.
SLs mostly the sedans, but these SCs with the pop ups.
Like the pop up lights that there was so much character in the front end, and there were so many like side strakes and stuff down the side.
Yep.
And then the ambers in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Like boy, talk about an early. Like I feel like I see the second gen ones like once a year. I'll see one. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot remember the last time I've seen a decent first generation SC
SC2.
specifically.
Yeah,
One
dude.
or two. I feel
They
like the
went.
ones are actually harder to find
Yeah. Well, the I mean the
with
engine in the
the
two is
textured
so
covers
much
and stuff.
better. Yeah.
Oh,
The
it's a
S
much better engine.
They went straight to the racetrack. They were like immediately in an SCCA sanctioned league.
Mm-hmm.
These cars were pretty fucking good. And to think that this wasn't platform sharing. This was Saturn's original platform that they obviously shared for all three cars, which again, financially viable, super smart way to approach the business. God damn, dude. And these things are bulletproof. They had some issues with the automatics, but you get a manual early
Yeah, the manuals were
Saturn.
good.
That
And
one
I want to
nine,
say I
that
don't.
one nine, dude,
The
is
one
top.
nine was good. I don't remember if it's the dual cam or the single overhead cam. There were like a couple of years where they had head gasket problems, and I don't remember if they were early or like there was like a refresh and it was on the slightly later ones, like the second gen ones, like 90, 96, 97, 98. Um, but pretty good. And what was funny is I remember going to, I believe it was like the 97 San Francisco International Auto Show and doing all the things and seeing all the cars. I remember they had a whole, I remember at the time, you know what? No, it had to have been earlier than that because I remember being a much younger child
Mm.
and saying and asking like, they had a whole display where it was like an engine cut in half and it was a Saturn display and it was like a whole wall and it had like all these different components and things like that and they had like a motor cut in half and it was like twin cam technology and it was like all this
Yes.
stuff about twin cam. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I think asking my dad or my mom or somebody um I don't know, a drifter that like grabbed me off the street and brought me to the San Francisco International Auto Show in the 90s. And I remember asking him or her or they like what is twin cam and like having to be like be explained what the concept of twin cam
Yep.
was and why it was a thing and I probably got a bad explanation, but I remember being like, "Whoa, this is like cutting edge. This is the future. This is really cool." And it was like 1995.
Dude.
And it was a Saturn display, which like at the time was like, oh, it's a thing. They're trying to be Honda, whatever. But in retrospect, like I
Oh,
appreciate the effort and I appreciate those early cars. They were
dude,
very cool.
talk about a naming convention that is built around how many cams are in the engine. I mean, I fucking love it. You already got me, right? Like, oh, you have an SC1? Oh man, yeah. It's just cool shit. These things, and they also didn't look like anything else on the road, right? They were pretty
They
unique
were
looking,
cool.
pretty jarring. But it was just a dead nuts reliable car too. And the prices, because they did the uniform, like all fit on one platform and they
Mm-hmm.
all used a 1.9 liter engine, they could keep the cost down. So what you could get into one of these SC2s, which with 125 horsepower was pretty spicy
Yeah.
for the time for what you paid. It was a
And
legitimate like sporty car.
it's a good thought exercise. Like they took the approach that Volkswagen took in the whatever 40s, 50s, 60s, which is you
Yeah,
have one platform with
everything's a Beetle.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, everything is a Beetle. You have the Beetle platform, right? And then we're going to make the Beetle, and we have the Beetle, and then we have the transporter. We have the bus, and then we have within the bus you have a single cab and a double cab pickup truck, and then we have the Thing, which is
and
like the SUV, and then you've
and the
got
Carmen Ghia,
the
which was
Carmen
the
Ghia,
pretty
which is the
Beetle.
sexy one, and then you
Yeah.
have the squareback and the fastback
Yep.
and the notchback, which we never got, and then it evolved into the Vanagon, and like all of these, and the Dasher and the 411 and all these.
So
It's all
smart.
based off the same shit, right?
Yep.
Um,
And a 356. Wait, no, don't say that one. No.
yeah, how dare you?
That one's a lot,
Don't
Frank.
squash my Beetle. But like, it's that's and I think that's what's happening now with a lot of EV stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
Tesla kind of got away with that with the S, and then Elon got weird and decided to be a whatever you define him as, not good. But like I think that's going to be. Did you see? Not to go too far off the rails here, and we're going to run out of time before we know it. Did you see the newest releases about the new Scout? Or I should say international. So like
Yeah.
the
So
International Scout, which are basically mostly rebadged Rivian stuff,
right, exactly. Yep.
but they look really good.
They look really good.
They look really good.
Why
The
isn't
truck,
there,
the
why
truck
isn't there a
doesn't. The
diesel
pickup
one?
doesn't.
Why isn't there a diesel one, Frank? How cool would that be?
You know what I want? I want the diesel electric hybrid.
That's that's it. That's what we're asking. We are talking about that at work today. We're like, why isn't the diesel hybrid coming out? It's a truck. It's a Scout. Let's go.
Yeah, you can keep your glow plugs warm with all the EV components you have in there.
Mhm.
There's ways to do it. I think diesel's been somewhat vilified. Anyways, this is a podcast
In itself.
episode in the
Yep.
future, and we'll when when we don't disappear for 6 weeks at a time, we can flesh this out.
APA podcast didn't hang itself, I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we didn't go full. You know what? Depending on, I was gonna say full Epstein, but depending on when we release this, it might be full Diddy.
Too soon.
We don't know.
Too soon.
If he actually commits suicide between the time we record this and between the time it airs, um, tell them what they've won. I don't think we win anything, but I just anyways, I know we basically last episode spent an enormous amount of time PCPing ourselves into the grave because we were just playing catch up. Between now and then, have you made any headway besides pontificating on what might be inside your garage or no?
No, because I basically just I ordered some more parts for the Blazer to finish that off. I mentioned it's back in my under my watch.
Possession. Your wing.
So the S10 Blazer, which is a 94 last of the boxy goodness, 2-door, 5-speed manual, 4.3 liter Vortec motor. Probably the best.
It's a 93.
What's that?
It's a 93. I don't remember the year. 94. It's the last year of that.
Last year, the boxy, because the S10 pickup went before the Blazer.
Yeah,
right.
Went 93.
So, so that was something I've done. I've ordered some just odds and ends, getting ready to finish that job up, and then figured out my project order. My plan will be knock out the Blazer, knock out the Corvette, knock out the Galant, and then maybe something fun. So that's where I'm at.
Because those aren't fun.
I know. I'm thinking. I'm like, man, I'm down to like 3 cars to work on. I'm like, those are big projects and cool cars. So I guess I'm good. Man.
If you get the Corvette going for the next rally, whatever rally it is,
I don't know if I can take it.
Oh, man, do it.
I think the Galant's when I modify the Galant, I think it'll be a better rally car than the Corvette.
I don't know. Well, you got to prove it one way.
Yeah, Corvette's a death machine, dude.
Which one are you keeping?
Do you know how much the tires are going to cost for the ZR1? Just
well, what are you going to buy them and not use them?
I'm buying used tires, bro.
Yeah, good luck with that.
You guys got any 305 series tires?
Yeah, exactly. And what is it? A 17-inch wheel? 16.
I think it's a 16. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Good
no, it's a 17. I think it's
a 17.
I can't remember.
Well, wait, it depends. Well, did you get the? I'm trying to remember when you went and picked up the pizza box and all that. You got the stalkers, right?
Did get the stock front wheels and more importantly the stock calipers. So for the brakes,
right? Yeah, because otherwise, good luck.
Yeah, good luck finding those.
Or no, good luck fitting the stock wheels over the non-stock brakes.
That $4,000 Bear big brake kit. I'm gonna sell that bad boy down the road.
What if you just run it on a rally?
Oh, it's too much car.
Do it. No, it's not too much car.
Can I just say, Frank, that I barely fit in that fucking thing? Like the wheel well is this wide. Like here's my feet.
Yes.
Like this.
Yes.
Ergonomics, not the best of the C4, but
that's fine. Well, that's good. I'm excited. If you can't tell, I'm very excited to see that car going. Not if, but when. It is going. Really, realistically, I'm in a holding pattern for most of my things. I did, however, the ever-present 1980 Honda Passport behind me. I've had this lump of cardboard over here that's actually got the white wall tires and the inner tubes I bought for it. I do. Part of what's been hanging it up outside of my negligence is the float bowls stick really bad on it. So like you can start it and then you ride around for a while. Like what you have to do is you start it and it'll run and then it'll just like start pissing fuel all over itself because the float bowl sticks wide the fuck open.
Or is it not? Can you not get carburetor stuff for it anymore? Or
so that's what I'm doing. So I found a rebuild kit. It's got the original carb with it.
Okay,
fine. And people are like, oh my god, like you have to. The original carbs are so much better, and like I can get a rebuild kit. And they come with new needles, but they don't come with new floats.
Oh, interesting.
And so I've been looking for floats and I kind of can't find them. I'm sure they're out there. Like it's a Honda Cup. It's genuinely the most mass-produced vehicle in the history of vehicles.
Correct. Yeah.
There's been more of these than horses.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what it is. And so
I'm true.
And so here, but I did find that like because they're effectively still in production in a lot of the world, um, you can basically still get carburetors for them complete for like $60.
Dude, that's the way to go.
And they're made
That's
in
the way to
Vietnam.
go.
And so I've been hemming and hawing like there's some charm in pulling this carb and rebuilding it, doing all that, but I don't want to do all that to have it still be shitty.
Yep.
Because the
Exactly.
carb kit's like $18 or I spend like $58 shipped for a brand new carburetor built like 3 months ago
Yeah.
out of Honda, like from Honda of Vietnam, because that's where they still run these mostly.
Damn. Yeah.
So I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I kind of want to do both. Like I
Mm.
kind of want to spend like the $18, which is like what, 2 beers at a bar, and get the rebuild kit.
Yeah.
Put the Vietnam carburetor on it, and then see if I can rebuild the carb I have, and maybe it'll be cool. And I don't know.
It's
Then I
probably
have a
not
rebuilt carb.
too dissimilar from that Honda Foreman ATV from the, what was that, 90s? It was like a mid 90s four-wheeler carburetor I took apart and rebuilt. It's probably not
Yeah.
terribly
What was that? Was that
dissimilar.
a 125?
Fuck, I can't remember off the top of my head,
This is
dude.
a 70.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just like
it
the
might have
whole
been
carb
bigger.
is like this big.
Yeah, but it's I guarantee it's a scale difference, but it's the exact same.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
Yeah. Probably
carbs and
different jets,
carbs.
different needles, or whatever it's got.
Yeah. And I remember I
But
rebuilt that carb, but something was still damaged and not running right. So I did replace the entire carburetor, like as a whole unit. And you can still
yeah.
find those. And yeah, it's worth doing the autopsy though. Just see what's going on in there.
And I know on this one too, it has the choke. It's a manual choke,
Mm-hmm.
and the cable where it connects at the carburetor, it's like a where it clips in. It's all plastic and it's shattered, so it's held on to that whole component is basically a zip tie holding it in. And
Oh,
every once in a while it pops out, and like like cut the zip tie and I put a new one on, and like
got it.
I don't think that comes in the rebuild kit. And someone's like, I just at this point
Probably
I
not.
might just buy a carb.
Mm-hmm.
I like the honor of keeping the original carb with this thing and rebuilding it and stuff. But like, if I'm gonna do all of that to have it not work,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Time's
so
a resource.
that's right. It's also a flat circle, and we've come to the end of our time. I'm thinking, my
Oh,
friend,
perfect. Forever? We're doing it?
forever. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Did you bring your katana, my friend?
Oh, I got the Kool-Aid back here.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh
And my
man, that's
Nikes
gonna be
on.
the episode. What episode count do we commit suicide on the episode? Is it
Here
is
comes the
it
mothership.
is it number 6969? If we get
Yeah.
to 6,969 episodes, do we have
I haven't done the math, but 69, 69, we should be well on our way.
we
But
should, if it times out that we're 69 years old when that happens, it's just
meant to be. We can't fight fate.
it is. Yeah, can't fight the feeling. And you can't fight the feeling. Friends listening and watching along at home. So thank you for tagging on and checking all this out. My name is Frank.
Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
missed my cue. Card. My name is Chadwick.
Chad Wyke.
Chadwick Bozeman.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are another pointless automotive podcast. We are back in the saddle. We're trying to get back into a rhythm of being semi-consistent. And so thanks to all of y'all's for putting up with our nonsense. If you want to check out what we are up to, hopefully by this time in the future, when when you're listening and we're not recording right now, you can see us doing things on our Instagram page. That's at APA Podcast. And you can also find us on wherever you listen to podcasts. Sometimes you can put in ratings there. Do it. It doesn't hurt us unless it does. Only one way to find out. Put a rating in there. It's probably good for us. One day we will maybe monetize this, and you're going to be a part of that. And I thank you for that in advance. If you want to see what I am up to, you can follow me on Instagram, a little bit on YouTube. That's at the Photographers Garage. Chadwick, my friend, where can the people stalk you digitally?
Yeah, guys, Auto Obsessive Garage for all your obscure, weird cards that no one cares about because they're not worth damn. They're not worth
They
anything.
should, though.
They're not
They
worth
should.
anything. They should. You guys should. And I'll teach you how to care about them and put way
Mhm.
too much time into them. But I do rescues, restorations, reviews. Check it out mostly on YouTube. Same name on the gram. But from Frank and myself, from the tops of our
Yes.
hearts and the bottom of our farts, We love you guys. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you next week, Frank? Question mark.
Yeah.
Like a
Thank you
comic
for
book.
existing.
To
Dot,
be
dot, dot.
continued?
Dun,
Question
dun,
mark.
dun. Yes. We will see you whenever we see you or listen to you, or it's the other way around. You're listening to us. Either way, we
Or maybe
appreciate you
not.
doing it. Or not. Who knows?
Who knows? It's a mystery.
Excitement, the spice of life. Okay. Well, thank you guys and gals, and we will you'll put up with us next time.
Catch you on the flip side.